Okay, so welcome back to training by Powered by Ground. And our Tuesday trainings are about the pie of real estate. We talk about resale, distressed, and new homes. Our main topic or our main theme is how to better serve our clients and their immediate needs. So there's coaches and trainers out there that train how to prospect, how to learn your scripts, but we're here to teach you how to serve your clients better. So the more service skills you develop through your career, the better rounded you will be with your clients and their immediate needs. We are in the service business. We talk about that we're in relationship building and in the service business. That means you have to learn to serve your clients. And that is kind of the main theme of every single week here on Tuesdays. We take a look at buyers, sellers, investors, developers, builders, brokers, and just how to service their needs better. And our goal is to equip ourselves and equip those people around us in servicing clients better. We talk about resale, buyers, sellers. We talk about distress. We'll have a session, I call it like the therapy mode. We go into hospital mode where we're servicing people in the emergency room and long care and short care. I mean, all of this, but there is this moment in our careers where we're servicing our clients and it's more like a therapy session, and then focusing on new home sales where we're servicing builders, developers, owners who have property or land and they need directions. And it's important to increase your service skills. If you increase your service skills, I believe you'll increase your business and the opportunities that will be available for you. If you don't increase your service skills, well, then you're just limiting yourself and limiting your business development opportunities. Last week we talked about buyers, we talked about sellers. Last week we talked about sellers and we talked about how to better service your sellers, how to better service their home or property that they own, and we gave a whole list of services that we need to develop so we can better serve our sellers. We talked about price, product, we talk about evaluation, we talk about curb appeal, we talk about a lot of things that have to deal with sellers and their product. So motivational thought of the day, we always throw one out there, is creating and then doing business. Our business is split into two categories, creating and doing. And I want to speak a little bit about what that all means, creating or doing your business. Creating is when you sit down and you dream about where your business is going to go. You create visions of where your business is going to go. You build strategy. Creating is about the people you need to surround yourself to help you move into that direction or that space. Creating is taking thought process and evaluation and seeking mentors who can help guide you there. Oftentimes, people have already went down that path. So you don't have to recreate too much, and I really like what they train in one of the Keller books. Before you get into creative mode, work with a model that already works and then become creative. So when you sit down and you start creating how your business is going to go or how's your business going to look, you're creating. Do I want to be a buyer specialist? Do I want to be a seller specialist? Do I want to be an investor specialist? You're creating and trying to figure out what eventually is going to come out of us. It's really good to sit down with people, like I always mentioned, who are at least 2 steps ahead of you so they can help you also to create. And I oftentimes, when I have one-on-one meetings with people, I usually bounce off ideas from them. I go, hey, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about this? And there's actually 2 mentors in my business where I sit down and I say, you know what, this is the direction my business is going. Give me another viewpoint. And oftentimes you'll find this in creating, we have a lot of blind spots. We have no idea that, you know what, we shouldn't go or we should not put energy towards this. I remember one of my mentors, I sat down and I gave a recap. Okay, hey, this is what I want to do in the next 12 months. These are my goals. He's like, I think you feel exhausted in this and this area. And I was like, yeah. He's like, just let it go. And that's part of creating. You sit there and you mastermind, you vet, you bounce off ideas, you source concepts that all have to do with creating your business. It's a hard work. To sit still for 15 or 20 minutes is really hard work, but it's creating. You have to create in the aspect of creating. Then doing the business. Doing the business is very task concept. What are the tasks that are needed to be fulfilled for you to fulfill what you've been creating? So what are the appointments you have to go to? What are the groups you have to meet? What are the people you have to meet? What other service skills, which we talk here, which other service skills do you have to develop to do the business that you wanted to create? And eventually by doing one step at a time, and I say you don't have to do all of them, just do one step at a time. When you're doing one step at a time, you're eventually doing and fulfilling what needs to be done, so what you wanted to create eventually come to be. In real estate, it's going and showing properties. It's maybe learning about marketing. It's studying paperwork. And doing paperwork, that's the doing aspect of the business. I would say creating is a lot harder than doing. For example, there's one Elon Musk, but there's 3,000 people who do business around him. But he's the creator, right? And if you take any big company, there's one or two people who sat there and spent a lot of energy in creating, and then there's thousands of people who fulfill what they were creating. But in your business, you don't have to elevate to those levels, but if you do sit down and spend the energy in creating, you yourself, and you could hire people to help you do the work that needs to be done for that to come to fruition. And a lot of doing the business is people management, hiring, firing, and all of that. But creating and doing the business. So the training for the day is understanding product. Last week we talked about sellers, and sellers have product. So now the question is, the product is their house. And today in particular, we're going to talk about SFR, single family residential. When a homeowner owns a home for a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, the house, has usage. Things wear down, things break, things need assessment. And this is where a broker has to increase his service skills in the contractor world. Contractors will become your friends, or need to become your friends. Brokers need to bridge their world into subcontractor world. They have to. And this is what we're going to talk about. When a seller has a product, which is their home needs maintenance. And we're going to cover some basic ones, and then we'll get to some more extensive things. But basic things are like a roof. Especially in the Northwest, we get a lot of rain, and people find out if their roof leaks pretty quickly. It doesn't take months, it just takes maybe a couple rainy days, and people figure out that they need a good roofer. Well, guess who you need to have in your service toolbox? A good roofer. Not just a roofer who you call and you're put on schedule 3 months ahead. A roofer you call and he's willing to be out there the next day. Why? Because that makes you look good, and that makes your client very, very happy. Roofers are those who go out and assess. Oftentimes on 35R, oftentimes we have to go and assess a roof. How much more life is left in this roof? Well, I'm not going to say that because I'm not a professional in that arena. But I'm definitely going to be friends with a person who isn't professional in that arena. And I'm going to get that personal suggestion over to my client, to my seller who has the product, which is their home, a single family residence, as fast as I can. So what should I do? You need to go out there, get 3 or 4 roofers and say, hey, I'm a broker and I'd like to sit down and talk to you. Hey, we're doing this and this many homes. If I did this and this, what can you do for me? So roofers are really crucial in SFR world. Also gutters. Roofing and gutter usually go on a package. We actually call it the envelope of the house. Everything that has to do around. So the envelope of the house starts with the roof, the gutters, and then we come down to siding and windows. But gutters are the next big thing in the Northwest. And again, we're not in Arizona or California, where some locations they don't even have gutters. There's just not enough rain for gutters for them to be profitable in the gutter business. But here we have gutters, and we have storm systems because we have so much water, and we have to direct this water off the property and to streams and then to rivers. So our next service is gutters. Gutters have 2 issues. First, they rot, and then they stop doing their work that they were supposed to do, is drain water off the property and not to the property. So roofing is number 1, gutters is number 2. You have to have a good gutter contractor who's willing to work on the gutters or the downspouts or rehang them or re-level them, whatever the scenario. But gutters is usually the second thing, and gutter cleaning. We have a lot of leaves and so forth. Why is this crucial? Because the minute you go to this house, to your seller's product, they're going to ask you about this. And if they ask you and you don't have an answer, then you're not doing them any good service. Our job is to guide our clients. And I always talk about, even in new homes and other sectors, our goal is to guide our clients. So if our clients need a gutter person, go get them a gutter person. If they need a roofer person, go get them a roofer person. On the outside, we have moss and mold. I would say this is number 3 because mold destroys the envelope of the house. It destroys the roof, destroys paint, it destroys siding. Paint has a longevity of about 6 to 7 years, and then it needs a new seal of paint, but moss destroys it probably in 2 years. We have moss everywhere, around our eaves and the gutters, on the roof, on the trees. We're just in Northwest. We have, moss on the sidewalk. We have it everywhere. But controlling the moss is very crucial because it eats into your property. So guess what your clients are going to ask? Somebody who's a good mold or moss cleaner or remediator. And this is really crucial. Again, we have to understand. And I know it's easy to say when you've been in the industry maybe for 20 years like myself, but what I'm saying is you eventually have to build your pipeline of these services. Moss and mold are a big thing. And I'm not talking about just services like, hey, here's 5 people off of Google Maps. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you, the contractors represent you and you represent them to your client. But not only that, how good of a service does everybody do? If your contractors are not responding to your client, it doesn't do any good to you either. So this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you excelling in your service and setting the stage for your contractors. Your subcontractors need to equally work within that level. I tell my subcontractors, for me, getting things done is a lot more important than price. If things can get done and done in a timely factor, that's more important sometimes to me than it is about price. Because if you have a leaking roof, if you have issues with gutter, if you have issues with mold, time is of essence. You can't wait. You got to get this stuff figured out. You got to get this stuff done. The next big issue that we have is crawl space. And I bet you need to find a good contractor who deals with crawl spaces. Because we have everything in our crawl space. We have mice, rats, raccoons, cats, insulation, we have broken pipes, we have no barrier ventilation. I mean, everything we have is found in our crawl space. Water, yes. So once the gutters are ruined, usually we have water in the crawl space. So you have to find a really good guy who gets things done in your crawl space. This is crucial. It almost shows up on every 35R. Every home inspection, you got stuff that you need to deal with in your crawl space. I got this great guy who does my crawl spaces. He gets the installation done in 2 days. Anything that's dead or alive, he gets it out of there. He's good. I've seen him in crawl spaces, which is like, 16 inches. Like I can't fit my head through it, and they just get it done. Amazing. So find a guy who does crawl space business. And that's a huge thing here locally. In California, they're all on slabs, so they don't have crawl spaces. So is Florida and maybe some other areas. But here we have crawl spaces. And usually people never go to their crawl space. Never. Through the life of how long they live, they're usually never in their crawl space. So this is why if you have a good person who goes down in the crawl space and comes out and says, you got issues here, 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 and here, take a look at this. So crawl space and finding contractors who do your crawl space is very crucial. One thing for brokers is every time you meet with a subcontractor and you study this, you yourself, and I call it again, cross-training. You're learning what these people deal with on a daily basis. So not only do you ask them, hey, can you fix this crawl space? I ask my crawl space guy, what else can you do? I'm almost throwing sales pitches at him. What else do you do for clients? How much does it cost? What's the new going rate? I'm asking all of this stuff. I'm doing that with my roofer and gutter guy. Same thing. Hey, gutter guy, if a gutter just needs leveling, how much you charge per hour? Oh, it's $100, $200. Okay, I got a pulse on what's happening in their world. Why? Because I got to bring that back to my seller who has a product that we have to take care of. So crawl space is really huge on servicing crawl space. And then all your maintenance stuff, electric, plumbing, HVAC. I'll tell you the plumbing, it's usually the kitchen and the bathroom place. Usually everything that has to do with kids bathing in the bathtub, everything that has to do with the sink, that's usually all your plumbing issues. All the piping that's under the cabinet that people usually mess around with and it starts leaking. They shove something under there or whatever, and they move pipes around. Your electrical, it was crazy. My electrical buddy 2 days ago sends me a photo. Like this lady calls him, and she's like, you know what, my outlet's not working. And he shows up, and the sheetrock literally almost 6 inches around that outlet was all black. He's like, it's not that your outlet's not just working, you almost burned your house down. And she called him, and she's like, oh, this and this. And he's like, when she told me the symptoms, he's like, man, either it's this or like, her wirings are burning. And he shows up and her wires were burning inside the wall. So it's good to have an electrical guy who can help. Yeah, it's crazy. And he actually showed me a phone. He's like, when he took it apart, it just fell apart. It was all burned up. So you need a good electrical subcontractor, not the guy who just changes light bulbs, but like a guy who really knows his stuff, right? You need a good plumbing guy, right? Who understands, okay, if we have a plumbing leak here, maybe we need to open up a wall here, fix a faucet here and do this, or this is how things are done, or 20 years ago they had galvanized and that's why a pipe broke. I mean, we had one of our investors' rentals, his main line broke, and I called a couple of my guys and said, what does it take to put a line, a new water line from the lateral in the street to the house? And they're like, oh, do this, and it can get done. But installing that, and then HVAC is always huge, especially with all the new codes and everything changing. HVAC is huge. So why am I bringing all of this up? Is because we're in the relationship building business and in the service business. When you walk into a hotel, when you walk into a store, you expect that person to give you service. When you walk to a person at the cashier table and you put your product and you're like, well, let's ring this up, I pay you and I move on with life. You expect something from these people. Well, our clients expect us to know this. They do. Otherwise, they would not be asking us questions. Our clients expect us to know something about this. We have to know something about this. These are services. And again, brokers who come from this area of contracting are actually really well equipped in servicing. Because they go meet investors, they meet clients, and they're throwing things around. Hey, this can be done and that and this. So what are they doing? They're throwing around their service, which allows them to become more professional to their seller, which say would be an investor at this moment. So increasing your service skills by overlapping your business with contractors is ultimately game. You have to be doing this. And why we say work with sellers? Because sellers are higher net worth. But they have an asset, is a product, it's their home. And we have to take care of their home as if it were our home. If we want to take care of their home, then we have to provide these services. And I could tell you story after story of how all of these have benefited my business. Story after story. Even in new construction, when homes are built during the winter and they don't do enough ventilation and drying up after the rains, well, this is a big concern. Moss and mold. Because if there's not enough ventilation, if lumber doesn't dry up, then mold starts to make its way around. So how do you remedy it? Well, I have 2 or 3 guys I call and I say, hey, if this is happening or this, what can you do here or what can you do this? We had a lot of even crawl space issues, right, with water, even in new homes. So I have contractors that I call and I say, hey, we got water. We didn't expect water, but now we have water. What do we do in this moment? How fast can you get out there? Can you get it done in a couple of days, even though you're booked for 3 weeks out? But all of these services have done me well. Have done me really well in my business. You don't have to learn scripts. You just have to learn services. What are all of these people doing that can benefit your client and their product? Which is, I think, year over year, every home we sell, when you look at this, you understand that these homeowners are so far away from this on a daily basis. They're really far away. I mean, like I'm saying, a lot of them never look in their crawl space for years. A lot of them don't even know what's going on in their gutters or their roof, or even like I mentioned, my contractor, like a lot of them just don't know. And our goal is to guide our clients. And if we guide our clients and it benefits them, it will eventually come around and benefit us. So today's session was talking about product. And we talked about just a couple takeaways. Product, and we talked about SFRs, single family residential homes. And we gave a list of services that we have to develop. When we develop these services will eventually complement us. When we develop these services, these are the services that we can hand over to our clients. When we develop these services and overlap our business with subcontractors, then these subcontractors can do us well also. And I'll tell you, all the top producing brokers that I know have a subcontractor list. And I always say, just do what other people are doing. You know, if top producers have this list and have their toolboxes filled, then you should also build it out. And again, it's not like, oh, I have to do it right away. What I'm saying is, do it over a spectrum of time. Get it figured out. In your contacts, have a category called contractors. I do. And I put all my contractors in there. I just did another walkthrough with a client and they go, do you have anybody who does landscape maintenance? I was like, yeah, hold up. Just give me a second. I'll send you one or two guys. These questions arise all the time. They're not fighting your commission. They're asking for services. And we have to build our service pool up to a point where we actually do good to our clients. And again, why we take each sector every single week? Because it's a service that we have to develop in each category. And the more we develop this, the more we could become a benefit and a value to our clients. Questions?